Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library Program. And I wanted to do a nice, simple, easy to make an easy to wear necklace. Just a chain that you can put on with pretty much anything and wear it all summer long. It's a lot hotter out, so you want something that's a little bit more lightweight and versatile. So I'm going to be making a chain with 22 gauge wire and some nice simple beads. I'm going to be using some little spotted glass beads and making a twisted link to go with it that's kind of serpentine. I wanted something that looked a little snake-like, but was really easy to do. So we'll just be twisting some links. So what we're going to use, again, is 20 gauge wire. I'm using 6 millimeter beads, no, 22 gauge wire. And I'm using the 22 gauge because we're going to be twisting and it's a little more malleable and easy to manage than 20 gauge. So 22 gauge wire, I'm using 6 millimeter beads. You can use 4 millimeter or 8 millimeter. Really, it doesn't have to be the same size beads that I'm using. I'm using my usual tools. I'm so sorry, I forgot about that again. My round nose pliers that are the barrels are round all the way around. They start bigger at the base of the pliers and gradually get smaller up to almost a point at the tip. Then I have my square nose pliers that are slightly rounded on the outside and flat on the inside. If you buy this in the store, make sure that it doesn't have those little grips on the inside because it will chew up your wire and you won't like that. Then my cutters, these are just basic wire cutters, jewelry wire cutters that you can use for cutting wire, exactly what it says. And I need a ruler to measure everything out. So, quick and easy project that's going to be very pretty. Let's get going. Let's pick up. Okay, the first thing that I need is 3.5 inches of my 22 gauge wire. It's my first little piece. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to measure about 1.5 inches from the end. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and you're going to decide how big you want your loops to be. I'm going about 1/3 of the way down my pliers for my loops because it doesn't have to be that large. Then I'm going to fold the wires over one of the barrels of the pliers. You can see that one is definitely longer than the other. I'm going to cross my wires over and bring the tails out opposite each other, just like that. So I have a nice little loop. Then I've seen people do this 2 ways. You can either keep it on the pliers and twist it, twist, 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 or you can use your flat pliers to hold it and twist. Either one, both work. Whatever works better for you is fine. So I'm going to twist that, give it 1 twist, 2 twists, and I'm just making a nice twist down both of the stems. Just twisting those stems together. And I am giving myself 10 twists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. This is called an electrician's twist. You don't want to wrap one wire around the other. You want them both twisted at the same time. So there's my link. I can see that my little loop is leaning a little bit to one side, just to this side a little bit. So I'm just going to go in with my pliers and rotate it back until it's right in the center of my little stem here. Very good. Then I'm going to cut off this short tail as close as I can get to the twist, just cut that off, get rid of that little tail. And then I'm going to make a loop on the other side with the longer tail. Go down to the same place that I was when I made this loop so that they're the same size. Mine was about a third of the way down my pliers. Bring that wire over the top of the pliers and down the side until it's running parallel with the rest of my link. Hold on to both of those pieces of wire, open your pliers, rotate it out of the way so that I can bring that tail under my pliers to make a loop, just like so. And again, I can see that my little loop is leaning to the side. So I'm going to rotate it until it's right there in the center. Here we go. Right there in the center of my link. And I can see this one's a little bit bigger than the other one. So let's go back into my third of the way down my pliers and pull that little end until it gets smaller. Just closing up a bit of that space. And do that until you have it. Ouch, I just poked myself. The size that you want. Please don't bleed. There we go. And now I'm going to wrap it. So I'm going to hold on to it with my square pliers. And I just need one wrap around. You can give it more wraps if you want, but I don't want to cover up my twists. Let's wrap that. Oh, look at that. I'm bleeding. Darn it. One wrap around and stop. Okay. Let's cut that little tail off as close as I can get. Go. Grab my square pliers and push that little tail down. Let's push that tip down as close as I can get. I'm trying to do this so that you don't have to look at that little hole of blood popping up on my finger. There we go. Over there. Put down there. A little bit more. There. Okay, I'm going to take care of this and I'll be right back. Okay, I think that should do it. Somebody just the other day in a class asked me, have you ever poked yourself with wire? And I said, sure. How many trips to the emergency room have you had? Anyway, let's move on. There's my first little link. Next little link is going to have this pretty speckled bead on it. Isn't that neat? Kind of purplish and black and white. Not showing up very well on the light, under the light, but anyway, so now I'm going to wrap that. So again, I need 3.5 inches of wire. There we go. Okay. And again, I'm going to measure about 1.5 inches from the end. Now, I'm making 2 different sizes loops just because I wanted to do something different. I could have made all of the loops consistent, but instead I decided I was going to do an alternating thing. I was going to make, I'll show you, 1 loop small and 1 loop big, just because. I mean, I couldn't think of any reason not to. So that is what I'm doing. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches from the tip, bend my wire, Now, the measurement is relative. It depends on how big your beads are. I need 1.5 inches on one side and 1 3/4 inches on the other side in order to make my loops two different sizes, the sizes that I want. My bead only takes up about 1/4 inch. So I know that 3.5 inches works for me. But if you use smaller beads, you'll use less. If you make bigger loops, you're going to need more. If you need more bigger beads, use bigger beads. Again, it's relative. So you're going to have to work that out for yourself. But for my 6 mm beads and the size loops that I'm making, 3.5 inches works. All right, so I'm going to slide my wire down to that little third of the way place on my pliers like I had my other one. Bring my wire over the top and down the side until it runs parallel with the long stem. Hold on to both of my wires, don't move them. Open my pliers up and rotate them out of the way. Then push my wire under my pliers to create my loop. There we go. And straighten out my little scarf here till it's out to the side. It needs to be running horizontal. And now I'm going to make a wrap. So I'm just going to wrap this around 2 times. One, nice and close together, and 2. There we go. Now I'm going to put my bead on. I'm leaving that on there for a reason, and I will show you why. Slide my bead on, and then I'm going to measure a slight amount above my bead, maybe 1/8 of an inch away from my bead, so I have space to wrap. Okay, so I'm going to put a bend in my wire. This loop is going to be going in the same direction as the other loop. Grab my round nose pliers, slide my wire down almost to the back this time to make my bigger loop. Oh shoot, I made a boo-boo. Let's do this again. Actually, I'm just going to do it over. It's just easier not to fight it. All right. 3.5 inches, because I have to link this. I have to link it to that, and I should have done that, and I didn't do it, and I don't want to unwrap it. So I'm just going to go again. You get to learn the process one more time. I hope nobody's watching and doing, because this is a do as I say, not as I do moment. All right, cut my wire, measure 1.5 inches from the tip. Put a bend in my wire. Slide my wire down my pliers about 1/3 of the way. Bring my wire over the top, down the side, and parallel with the other wire. Hold on to those wires. Open my pliers up, rotate out of the way, and bring my wire under my pliers to create a loop. And for there, I stop because I'm going to attach it to my other link. It's going to slide that closed loop down that little leg of my open loop and pop it inside. There we go. Just like that. And now I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to give it my 2 wraps. One and 2, and I want them nice and close together. There we go. Grab my bead, pop it on. Give myself a little bit of space, about 1/8 of an inch or so. Put a bend in my wire. You see that little space? That's what we're going to wrap around. Slide my wire in between my pliers and down almost to the back so I can make a nice big loop. Bring my wire over the top and around and down the side of my beads. Turn my pliers so that they're out of the way and I can bring my tail under my pliers, right in between my pliers and my bead to make my loop. I'm stopping here because I still have to link this to the rest of my necklace. Now, I did this all one way. Small, large, a small loop on the one end of the bead, large, small, large, and I did it all the way around that way. You can switch it up if you want, it's up to you. So I'm going to slide the closed loop of my twisted link into my large loop, just like I did on the other side. And now I'm going to wrap it closed. Okay, let's give one wrap around. Now I left this little tail on because I want to wrap them both the same. I want to give them equal wraps on each side. And it's hard to know how much. You're just kind of guessing unless you've done it many, many times. And I don't want you to have to guess. So that's 2 times around. Let's give it one more time around. And I'm going to go to the other side. That has 2 times around. I'm going to give it one more time around to match this side. There we go. And then I'm going to give it another half of a wrap. You can see a tiny bit of space there that's still bare. I'll give it half a wrap. And then go to the other side and give it a half wrap. This is very short. There we go. So both sides are all filled in. Nice. Very nice. Now I'm going to cut off the tails. Nice and close to the wraps. Just cut that off. And other side and cut the other tail off. Nice. And then I'm going to push those little tips down. So that they won't stick you. Here we go. Get down there. Come on. Come on. There. Same thing on the other side. Push that little tip into the other wraps. There. There. And there's my little chain. I just wanted this to be a little chain. You could make it long enough to go over your head if you want to. You just repeat that over and over and over. But I'm going to make a little clasp, just in case you don't want it that long. So for that, I'm going to take, because this is just 22 gauge wire and it's relatively thin, I'm going to give myself 6 inches of wire so I can wrap it up nicely. Okay. That off. And then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is make my little hook first. So I'm going to give myself about 1.25 inches from the tip. And I'm going to put a bend in my wire, spin it. So I have a short and a long wire. And I'm going to squeeze it together as tightly as I can with my fingers so that the wires are side by side. There we go. And then I'm going to, if I can't get it as close as I want to, I'll use my pliers to squeeze it the rest of the way. I just don't want them to cross over. Here we go. And then I'm going to go down here to the long wire. Let's make sure that these are side by side. See how it's crossed over a little bit? Straighten that out. There we go. Then I'm going to go down here to the open part, and I'm going to bend the long wire straight up. Well, straight out to the side because I'm going to make a loop. So I'm going to bend it straight out to the side. There's the short tip. Bend it out to the side, right there at the top where the tip is. There we go. Now I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and make a loop. Doesn't need to be huge. And I can close this loop because I'm going to use a jump ring to attach it to the rest of the bracelet, so I don't have to worry about that. Bringing that wire over the top and down the side until it's parallel with the rest of my hook, the rest of my 2 pieces of wire. Then I'm going to bring the wire under the pliers, under this one barrel, and over to the side, like so. So now I have a hook. Now I have a loop, and I want to make sure both of these little wires are close together, side by side, like so. And I'm going to cut this little tip off. It's a little too high. I want it down here just under my loop. So let me snip that just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. And now I need to wrap this tail around both of these wires. That's a little bit of a challenge because you have to hold these in place, keep that from rotating. So I'm going to take my pliers, hold my loop, hold my 2 wires, and use my thumb to push this wire around. Takes a little bit of maneuvering to do it. Just push that around there until I can unleash it. Okay, then switch to the other hand and push it the rest of the way around until I have this little tail enclosed. It's not going to want to be enclosed, but it just has to be. Wrapping that around, wrap, 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 until I've got it locked in. There we go. Nice. And now I can wrap it, and I'm going to wrap it down the stem until I have about 1 inch of wire left. I just want to give it a nice, good wrap. It makes it more sturdy, and it makes it prettier. So you can wrap this as much as you want, but I want to make sure that I have a good inch of wire left to make my hook. Let's see what I've got. Oh, yeah, that's 1 inch. Let me give that another wrap. I just love the way these wraps look. There we go. Let's cut off that little end. Don't need that. Snip that off. Push down that little tip. Down there with the rest of the wraps. And now let's make my hook. Good. I always like to make the hook to go over the little tip so that it gives it a little bit of extra security. So what I want to do now is bend the unwrapped part back. Just give it a little bend, boop, like that. I don't want this to be bent, just the unwrapped part. Then I'm going to take my pliers, either your round ones or your square ones, and right here on the tip, I'm going to bend that back also in the same direction. So boop, just give it a little bend like that. Gives it a little ledge. Over in the center. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to put it right in the middle of my unwrapped wire, the two wires. And I'm going to slide it down almost to the back of my pliers. And then I'm going to bring the tip and the bottom that's unwrapped together. I'm just going to fold it over my pliers, just like so, until I have a hook. And there's my hook. Here we go. Now I'm going to grab a jump ring, open it up, one pair of pliers on one side and my thumb on the other, and I can either push it down or I can use the 2-plier method and twist it open just like that. Grab my hook, slide the closed loop inside the open loop, then slide the last link of my chain also inside my loop, close it up, make sure it's completely closed, and voila, I have a nice little chain. Very simple, very easy to wear, lightweight. You can make it any colors you want, and pretty much wear it with anything. Isn't that neat? Let's look at it on a form. There it is. And lo and behold, it matches my shirt. This will be worn today. It's cute. I love it. So easy to make, so simple. You just two processes, and you can make yourself a nice chain. And you can hang something from it if you want to, make a bead to just hang off the end or a charm or something. But in the meantime, you have this nice, simple chain that works beautifully with just about anything. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. Perfect. That's it. I wanted to give you something fast and easy that you can make and that anybody pretty much can make, very beginner friendly. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you and I would love to see your pictures. You can get in contact with me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRY. I get my face in here. GIN20@gmail.com. You can also leave me comments at the library Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's facebook.com/DEKALB You can leave pictures there too, which I always love. You can also get in contact with me at the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. You have to spell the whole thing out. DEKALB COUNTY PUBLIC LIBRARY. So I hope to hear from you one way or the other, good, bad, whatever you didn't understand, what you didn't get, what I didn't do well. I'd like to hear about it. So until next time, have a good day, have a great weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.